Every once in a while, you read a book that leaves you with more questions than answers, but in a good way. A book like The Trade-Off by Brazilian author Uranio Bonoldi. The book is truly a page-turner that will leave you craving for more by the time you reach the end. It's a gripping thriller that explores the true consequences of the decisions one makes in life. And I'm thrilled today to have the author with me to discuss the book, the inspiration behind it, and much more. Welcome, Uranio.
Hi, Tino. Thank you so much for this opportunity to address you and this audience and to talk about the trade-off saga.
You're most welcome. And for those that do not know you or are unfamiliar with your work, could you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I've worked for over 30 years as a C-level executive and in senior management positions for various companies, including as the CEO of Fundação Butantan. The Butantan Foundation is a healthcare foundation that's mainly responsible for the public vaccination campaigns in Brazil. Nowadays, I dedicate myself to mostly writing, fiction and business books alike. I occasionally do some strategic planning in my capacity as a corporate governance consultant for medium-sized companies and moonlight as a lecturer as well.
My, you are a busy man. You mentioned writing both fiction and business books. And I know you've written multiple books. However, what I'd like to know is, was The Trade-Off the first book you wrote?
In reality, my first writing experience was a book chronicling my family history. I wrote it in 2007 to celebrate 530 years since the first Bonoldi's birth was registered by a priest in Mantova commune in Italy. I enjoyed the experience a lot, and I think that's when the desire to write commercially first entered my mind. No, it wasn't the first.
But when would you say you first realized you wanted to be a writer? Because chronicling your family's history is a huge undertaking.
It certainly was. Let's try to make a long story short. In my various roles, I started to notice how people seem to have difficulties evaluating choices and making decisions. Based on this observation, I looked into the decision-making field and created a decision-making model in order to make the decision-making process easier when it comes to difficult and or high-impact decisions. I eventually wrote a book on the matter. It focuses on business executives, their career and corporations. It's a book aimed mostly at people who are board members, C-level executives and people management in general. But then I also realized I had to spread my message about decision making and its consequences to a broader and younger audience, which is what inspired me to write the Trade-Off series.
You're a long-time businessman. Given your background, what inspired you to write a thriller this time?
I wanted to write to spread ideas about the decision-making process in a playful way, to help young people think about their choices, their importance in their lives, and ultimately about the consequences that come about because of the decision they make. I feel it's so important for people to make better decisions and reflect more on issues so as to become more well acquainted with their values. That's the idea behind the Trade-Off saga.
The book really is entertaining, and what I find fascinating is how it hooks the reader right from the start, but keeps them engaged throughout. How did you do that? What's your secret?
In truth, research and experimentation. I watched a lot of shows on streaming sites and took note on the ones that gripped me from start to finish. Many of them started by telling the end of story, but without giving away important plot points. Of course, I started to observe this technique and how different series use it. If I started a series and said to myself, oh, I'm just going to watch one chapter and go to bed. And after 3 episodes, I find myself still watching at almost, 1 a.m. in the morning. I then out my writer's head on to try and understand what went on, what hooked me, and what kept me engaged. So I'd say there are 2 main things in the trade-off that serve to hook and grip the reader. One is that I give away part of the ending right off the bat, but not everything. It intrigues the reader and makes them wonder, how did the protagonist wind up in this situation? If you want to know, you have to read on. And jumping directly to the end won't help you either. You will only get lost as the tale is not in a chronological order. 2 is that it's a very human story, which most of us can relate to. Our protagonist is at a stage in his life where he needs to make many decisions which will impact his future. What motivates him to make the decisions he does, and how his decision-making process leads him to where he ends up, I feel is gripping and entertaining. The readers at each turn will wonder what's going to happen next. And believe me, no one can guess.
I'm going to have to agree with you on that. I was hooked from beginning to end and still want more. On the subject of being hooked, I felt immersed in Otter's world. I think because the book reads like a film script, at least to me anyway. Are there any plans to adapt this into a movie or series?
You are quite astute. Indeed, there are. I'm currently in talks with a local production company called Lumix Art Films to either adapt the books into a movie or series. They are in the process of searching for a co-producer in the USA, since key parts of the story take place in the United States, particularly in Park City and in Deer Valley in Utah. Lumix Art Films are the same company that produced the video trailer for the book. It's quite cinematic. If you haven't seen it, watch it. It's amazing. I invite any viewers to watch it too.
I'll watch it for sure and link it in the description as well for others to watch.
In addition, the film project already has a website with teasers to entice potential sponsors, and recently the project was greenlit by a government incentives agency here in Brazil, making anyone who wants to support the project from the United States be able to invest and receive substantial production incentives, making the production relatively low cost, considering the majority of filming would be here in Brazil, where film sets and locations are comparatively cheap.
My mind is blown right now. You've given me more information than I bargained for. You were born and raised in Sao Paulo, just like Otto, the protagonist of the book, was. Are there any elements from your own life that you've injected into the story?
Oh yes, for sure. Otto's neighborhood is my old stomping ground. Some places I describe are where I lived when I was a teenager and where I raised my own 2 kids. Also, similar to when Otto was at school, I always felt insecure about answering questions when the teacher asked me to in front of my classmates. And there are many other elements from my own experiences in the story, for sure.
35,000 is often touted as the average amount of decisions an adult makes in a day. How, in your opinion, do you think we can ensure that decisions we make are good or will potentially lead to positive outcomes?
Yes, but this figure, 35,000, includes many low-impact decisions, many which become automated or rather habits in time. So let's focus on high-impact decisions because we cannot waste time on all the low-impact decisions like should I have an ice cream or not? Go to the movie theater or not? Wear white shoes or black one? Those kind of decisions are inconsequential for now. By high impact decisions, let's say they are the decisions which have a huge range of choice. The results are in the long term and they highly impact the decision maker personally and others around them in either a positive or negative way. The short and direct answer is we can say that these are decisions made which align with our values and based on the feeling that the result of said decision will benefit as great number of people as possible. And when made right, are decisions with the potential to bring about positive outcomes.
Very interesting and also very deep. Speaking of which, this book explores Amazonian law, tribes, and culture, telling the story of an indigenous woman who's rescued from the Amazon rainforest. Honestly, I'm a bit unsure whether she or Otto is the protagonist of the story. Could you tell me more about that? What made you explore Sao Paulo and the Amazon and then bring the two worlds together?
Yes, that's true. And it's difficult to identify who is the main character in the book is. That's by design. Is it Otto, Dr. Otávio, or if it's Yauna, the Indian woman rescued by Otto's mother from the Amazon as a result of being marked for death by illegal miners. The character of Yauna brings a lot of her tribe's culture and mysterious from Amazon rainforest to the city of São Paulo. For the example, the knowledge of the elixirs and rites from her tribe, which she imparts onto Otto. Will he take the elixir and will he perform the rites? If so, why would he choose to do so? We'll see.
I've only read this book and know that you wrote a second part to it, but saga and series implies a little bit more. How many books are there in this series? Or saga, if you will.
Yes, for sure. Yes, it's a saga. It's a series of books. This first one is about the power of a decision. The second one, which is only available in Portuguese at the moment and is being currently translated to other languages, is about the power of the revenge. The third one, which I recently completed, is being reviewed by my publisher and is about the power of the word no. The fourth will be about the power of forgiveness, and the fifth and final one, the power of the redemption. There will be 5 books in the saga.
Wow, I'm dumbfounded. I expected a trilogy at the most.
Yes, that's it.
Good to know. So to wrap up, where can people pick up a copy of The Trade-Off or learn more about you?
People can find the ebook in English, Portuguese and Spanish on Amazon.com. Both are reasonably priced and free to download on Kindle Unlimited. People can also follow me at Uranio_Bonoldi on Instagram.
Sorry, but I have to ask this before you go. You strike me as a pretty smart guy and you've definitely achieved a lot in life. Is this due in part to any kind of elixir?
No, come on, no.
Well, it's been a pleasure. Thank you, Uranio.
Thank you so much, Tino, for this opportunity to personally inform my readers and for the opportunity to tell them about the trade-off saga and a bit about me. It was really a pleasure. Thank you so much.
If you want to learn more about Uranio and the trade-off, I've put all the links and his social media handles in the description. I can't recommend the book highly enough. Make sure you grab a copy today. The English version is available on Kindle, and so is a Portuguese version, which is also available in hard copy. Until next time, cheers, peace out.